Jacob's Story by Matt Gardner. Being a regular trader on the seafront, Billy's voice could often be heard on the beach during the summer months. Donkey rides, come and get your donkey ride here, a memory your children will never forget. Come and get your donkey ride, Billy would tell everyone very loudly as he walked up and down the beach with his donkeys. Little did anyone know just how much of a hero he would become later on that summer. Whilst the girl was being carried out to sea, Billy was trying to keep hold of the runaway donkey and secure it to his nearby feeding station. The only one who wasn't tied up was Jacob. Billy couldn't see him going anywhere with his mother tied up, and so he thought nothing more about him. Billy was just pleased he'd managed to stop the runaway donkey. All the while, the young girl was drifting further out to sea, much to the horror of the girl's mother and the many bystanders watching on the beach. It was getting to the point where she was becoming nothing more than a tiny speck on the horizon. Realizing that she was in great danger, the young girl then started to get worried. "I want my mum! I want my mummy!" The young girl cried out in a state of fear and panic, but sadly no one could help her. This was Jacob's big chance to show others what a special donkey he was. It was also his chance to show that his disability didn't really matter, and that it was his personality that mattered most. All of a sudden, Jacob did something truly amazing. "I can do this, I can do this," Jacob told himself with each breath he took. Realizing that he was so important to the town, Billy decided that it was his duty to continue working on the beach for as long as he could. He didn't want to disappoint all the children who had come from far and wide to ride on his donkeys. Somewhat wisely, Billy decided to put the money he had made away for when he and the donkeys did eventually have to retire. He did spend some of the money he had made, though. In order to make sure that he always had somewhere for him and his donkeys to live, Billy decided to buy the farm where he used to stay during the winter. Very tactfully, Billy asked the farmer if he'd ever consider selling up and retiring. "Oh no, I could never do that," the farmer replied. "I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I didn't have the farm to run." "Oh," Billy suddenly said, with a sad look on his face. "Why did you ask that question, Billy?" the farmer then asked, noticing the expression on his face. Much to the farmer's surprise, Billy then told him, "I was going to ask you if I could buy your farm." "You want to buy my farm?" the farmer then answered him back in a state of shock. "Well, yes, if I could. I like the place, and now I have enough money, I'd like to buy a place for the future, so that me and the donkeys will always have a home." Billy then made him an offer he couldn't afford to turn down. He offered the farmer far more money than the place was worth. "Oh, I don't know. I'd need to think about this very carefully," the farmer then told him with a worried look on his face. Much to Billy's delight, the farmer eventually said yes to his proposal, and he bought the farm from him. That's not the end of the story as far as Jacob and Billy were concerned, though. In the months that followed, there was to be another twist to Jacob's amazing story. It was to be a twist to his story which few could have predicted. In the near future, a situation would arise where Jacob would once again be in great danger. It was also a situation with a very surprising outcome for him, one which he could never have believed possible. It turned out to be a very long journey, especially for Billy. He knew only too well that there was no going back on his decision now, and that in a short while Jacob would undergo the operation, an operation with no guarantee of success. When they eventually arrived at the surgeon's farm, Billy had a look round, whilst the reporter and a photographer took some photos. The animals certainly looked well cared for, and there were lots of veterinary nurses caring for each animal. This gave Billy a degree of comfort. Whilst Jacob was settling in, Billy went to see the surgeon who would be working on him, in an attempt to reassure himself. The surgeon looked and seemed like a nice man who knew his job, but Billy just couldn't help himself, and he pleaded, "He will be all right, won't he? You will look after him, won't you?" "Yes, I'll look after him," the surgeon replied confidently. "He's in safe hands. Me and my staff will take good care of him. You can be sure of that. You've no need to worry at all. When you come back in a day or so, he'll be just fine," the surgeon assured Billy without any hesitation. Their conversation ended a short time after that. Billy then went over to say goodbye to Jacob. Once Billy was sure that Jacob would be all right, he and the reporter then left him grazing in a paddock with his new friends. They then went to stay at a nearby hotel. The following day they did some sightseeing. Whilst Billy would have liked to have gone back to see Jacob, the surgeon had told him it would be better if he left him alone. He thought that seeing Billy might make Jacob anxious and make him long for home. Billy could hardly sleep at all that night, knowing that first thing the next morning Jacob would undergo his operation. When the time of the operation came the following day, Billy very much wanted to be with Jacob, but the surgeon thought it better that Billy keep away, just as he'd done when Billy had wanted to see him before. The surgeon didn't want Jacob to get overexcited or anxious. Because of the vet's caution, Billy was forced to stay back at the hotel, along with the reporter and the photographer, and wait anxiously for any news on how Jacob was doing. "I hope he'll be all right," Billy told the reporter with an anxious look on his face. "Yes, I'm sure he will. He's in good hands. We've chosen the best surgeon in the world. I'm sure you've got nothing to worry about," he told Billy with great confidence. Unfortunately for both of them, he was wrong, as they would later find out. As things turned out, it was probably for the best that Billy and the others weren't actually there during the operation, for sadly things didn't exactly go to plan.